They say fear is the oldest instinct, but imagine a fear so profound, so absolute, it shaped the very bones of humanity. It wasn't the darkness, not the fire, but the shadow of a beast that dwarfed even the mightiest modern predators. The prehistoric lion, whose roar was the voice of the wild and whose hunger carved the destiny of our ancestors on the open plains of Africa. The wind, a dry, ceaseless whisper, carried the scent of dust and distant rain across the Serengeti of the deep past. It was a landscape raw and untamed, a sprawling canvas of gold and ochre where the modern world's concerns were utterly meaningless. Here fire was a new, temperamental friend, and the stone axe was the pinnacle of technology. This was the world of the Homo erectus, not fully human as we understand it, but already standing tall, already carrying the spark of conscious thought. Their name for themselves, if they had one, is lost to time. We know them only as the people of the Ochre River, a small, tightly knit band of perhaps 30 individuals. They moved with a rhythmic, practiced caution, led by a tall, powerfully built male named Kael. Kael was marked not by his physical size, though he was formidable, but by his eyes, intense, calculating, constantly scanning the horizon not for what was there, but for what wasn't. He saw the absence of danger as a fleeting illusion. Their current location was a shallow, rocky outcrop, offering a meager defensive position near a seasonal watering hole. They were hunters, scavengers, and above all, survivors. But Kael felt the air tighten. The usual cacophony of the savanna, the chirping insects, the distant, nervous call of a gazelle, the territorial squabble of hyenas had been replaced by a silence so complete it felt like a pressure against the eardrums. It was the silence before a storm, or, worse, the silence that descends when the true apex predator enters the stage. He raised a hand, and the people froze. They were masters of camouflage, their ochre-stained hides blending with the dry grasses. Every child knew the sign, the stillness. Kael's gaze settled on a point 400 paces out, where the tall, feather-tipped grasses met a stand of gnarled acacia trees. There was a faint ripple in the grass, too deliberate for the wind. He knew the beasts of the plain. The fast, sleek cheetah hunted in the daylight, its goal to kill quickly and leave. The hyena, bold and numerous, would challenge for a carcass. But this was the great cat. It wasn't the modern African lion, Panthera leo, that held this territory. This was the ancestor, or a cousin so imposing it earned its own legend. Panthera leo atrox, the American lion's relative, or perhaps even the larger Cape lion, massive and powerful, weighing up to 500 pounds, with males often lacking the distinguishing dark mane of their descendants. It was a phantom hunter, capable of dragging a wildebeest carcass for miles, and notorious for an almost casual disregard for other predators, including early humans. Kael saw the shadow first. Not a complete figure, but the outline of a massive shoulder, low to the ground, moving with a fluid, terrifying grace. The color was a sandy beige, blending perfectly. Then he saw the head. It was enormous, broader than any Kael had ever seen. Its eyes, intelligent, amber-yellow orbs, were fixed on their camp. It wasn't stalking them with the frantic, predatory hunger of a wild dog. It was assessing them with the cold, patient curiosity of a king surveying a new, slightly irritating species of vermin. The fear that rippled through the people was not panic. It was a deeply ingrained, paralyzing terror. They had prepared for this as they prepared for everything. Their primary defense was fire. Little Rana, a girl of maybe 7, whose job was to guard the ember log, a partially charred piece of wood they kept glowing at all times, scrambled toward the small mound of gathered kindling. She blew on the embers, her lungs burning, trying to coax the fragile orange glow into a protective roar. Kael's brother, Taru, a man known for his quick temper and even quicker spear arm, crouched low with his newly sharpened Acheulean hand axe clutched tight. It was a magnificent piece of worked stone, teardrop-shaped and razor-sharp, the product of hours of careful knapping. Against a beast of this size, it felt like a chipped pebble. The lion, sensing their movement, paused. It let out a sound that wasn't a full roar, but a deep, rolling growl that vibrated the very stones of their outcrop. It was a territorial claim, a warning, and a promise.
Rana managed to ignite the kindling. A sickly wisp of smoke, followed by a crackling tiny flame, rose into the air. But the lion, unlike the smaller cats and hyenas, seemed unimpressed. It had encountered fire before, and while it respected the heat, it did not fear the flickering light. It took a single, powerful bound, clearing the tall grass in a blur of muscle and sinew. It was closer now, close enough for Kael to see the scar tissue above its right eye, a trophy from a long-ago territorial fight, and the sheer, terrifying bulk of its frame. It was a beast perfectly evolved for the open plains, speed, power, and overwhelming size. Panic threatened to overwhelm the people. They wanted to scatter, to dive into the nearest thicket, but Kael's training held them fast. He knew the lion's game. If they scattered, it would pick them off, one by one. Their only chance was cohesion and noise. "Stones!" Kael shouted, the word a guttural, strained sound. "Stones and dust!" His mate, Leah, a strong woman who often led the gathering parties, did not hesitate. She grabbed a handful of fine, dry dust and flung it hard toward the lion's face. The dust cloud, negligible to the wind, was a sudden, irritating distraction to the beast. Taru, meanwhile, found his footing. He didn't throw his spear, too precious, too risky to miss. Instead, he started yelling, a high-pitched, manic shriek while violently shaking a dead branch. Other members of the group, adults and older children, joined in, creating a jarring, chaotic wall of sound. They were not trying to injure the lion. They were trying to confuse and annoy it, to make the effort of attacking them greater than the reward. The great cat stopped. Its powerful shoulders bunched. Its tail twitched, a heavy, whip-like movement. It was not retreating, but it was hesitating. This was the key. They weren't prey that ran. They were prey that fought back with bizarre, unpredictable tactics. The noise hurt its sensitive ears. The dust irritated its eyes. Kael took the opportunity. He picked up a smooth, fist-sized rock and with a powerful overhand throw, hurled it at the lion's massive chest. The stone bounced off the thick hide with a dull thud, doing no real damage, but the impact was a signal. It was a declaration. We are not worth the trouble. For a long, agonizing moment, the prehistoric predator stood motionless, its tail lashing the air. It tilted its head as if listening to the buzzing insects, utterly unconcerned by the tiny creatures shrieking before it. Then, with a slow, deliberate turn, the massive cat wheeled around. It gave one final, low, vibrating growl, a promise to return, and melted back into the golden grasses, leaving behind only the unbearable silence of its retreat. The people of the Ochre River did not cheer. They did not collapse in relief. They simply exchanged fearful, knowing glances. They knew the truth of the savannah. The immediate danger had passed,
But the terror was not gone. It was just waiting. They had survived the encounter, but they had not won the war. The shadow of the great cat would follow their every step, every hunt, every night around the fragile, flickering fire. Their life was a testament to the sheer, terrifying resilience it took to survive the long night of human prehistory.